Hello everyone, welcome back to LeetCode Daily Live, where I do the daily question raw and uncuts. So we have a medium today. It's called set matrix zeros. So we're given a n by n integer matrix. If an element is zero, set the entire row and column into zeros. So wow, very short description, and you have to do it in place. So you just modify the input. Uh, Right, so M and N are 200. So um wait, does that mean we can technically just brute force it? So so if we look at so let's say like we have a zero here, right? Um we'll just change the entire row into zeros. So we have 40k elements, and each element would change 400 um it will change 400 elements at most, because like it changes the rows and columns. So that'll be 60 million, and like 60 million operations, and that'll fit well within a second. So yeah, that should work. Oh wait, but there are follow-up stuff. Okay, so let's see. So straightforward solution, yeah, so that's kind of what I just said just then. And then you can use O n plus n. Right. Okay. So if you store which row and column has to be changed, and then you can just change all of them at the end. But it actually wants a constant space solution. Right. So if it is constant space, that means we have to somehow store it inside the matrix, I think. Like we have to somehow store the information inside the matrix. Um how will we do that though? So yeah, I'll probably not do the first two parts because they are pretty trivial. So let's think about the like how we can use constant space. So so for example, like when we see the zero here, I think like we have to somehow store the information within the matrix. That's what it feels like. Um, so like for example, when we see a zero here, we have to somehow store that the second row and second column all needs to be turned into zero. While not affecting like the other actual numbers. So yeah, actually my idea is so if we have to change the second column, we'll set we'll set the first um we'll set the first column into um none. So like we'll know that maybe I will draw it out. So what I'm thinking is, so we have 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1, 1, 1. So we see a zero in the middle. So we change this into none, and we change this into none. And then at the end, like we'll just check each row. So like because that's none, we'll set the whole column to zero, and then because this is none, we'll set that all into um well into zeros as well. Yeah, but the problem is um if we have to change the first row or first column, there will be an overlap. So I think this is where we actually have to use like some other variables to store whether we have to change that or not. So so for here, like for example, if we change this to none, right? Well, how do we know whether that's going this way or that way? So yeah, that's just one thing that we have to be mindful of. But yeah, I'm pretty sure. Well, I would call my solution constant space because like we are storing the information inside the matrix. Um, yeah, maybe let's think about example two. Yeah, so like for this example, we'll set the first thing into none, and then we'll set the like we'll also set the first row and the fourth column into none. So like it will have this kind of shape. But yeah, but when we update the first row and first column, we use an extra variable. We use two extra variables outside. So we don't have the ambiguous case where like the first element got turned into none, but we don't know which direction it actually goes to. So yeah, I think we can just start coding it out now. So we have so we need a first row 0, and then first column 0. We'll set them as false first. So now for I in range, length of matrix. For j in range, length of matrix 0. So so what we want to do is if matrix ij is equal to 0, yeah, I guess what we can do is we can just set the first yeah, let's think about it. So if I is equal to 0, so it will be the first row, right? So if it is the first row, we want to set first row 0 is equal to true. So and then we want to do, if j is equal to 0, we want to set first column 0 is equal to true. So yeah, but then we also have the case where like, so we actually don't want to update this into none. Wait, actually, we can. So yeah, what should we do here? Yeah, I think we can just change so 0j into none, and then we can change matrix I0 into none. So like back to this case, we will be updating this into none and that into none. So the reason we can't use something like -1 is because like if you look here, like we have a very wide range of numbers. So yeah, so after we have done this, we have to go through all the first row. So length matrix. Wait, that will go through all the columns, I think. No, actually that will go through all the rows. So so we want to check if matrix, so if matrix I0, actually yeah, we should, yeah, so the reason we want to do 1 here is we don't want to overwrite the first row yet. Yeah, and so if matrix I is equal to is none, matrix I0, yeah, so the ith row 0th column will give you the first column. So if that's true, we want to set for j in range, well, we just want to set well, from itself all the way to the end of the row, matrix ij is equal to 0. And we just do something similar for j. But instead here, we will check the first row, jth column. If it is none, then for I in range, matrix, so that will give you all the rows. So I want to set all of those into 0 now. and then at the end, so if first row 0, we want to turn so we want to turn the first row into 0, right? So that hopefully makes a lot of sense. So matrix 0, length matrix 0. So we want to set matrix, so the 0th row and every column, so the whole first row into 0. And if first column is 0, we want to set, well, we want to set every element in the first column into 0. And I think that should work, I think if example 2 works, if example 2 works, it should work, because that's the edge case. So yeah, there we go. I guess this question isn't too bad, but I'll kind of explain how I thought of the solution a bit. So, well, obviously without all the follow-up, there are, well, millions of ways to do this question. Like, you can just check all the zeros, and then like just turn its column and row into into zeros. Or the other way to do it is like let's look at example 2, right? So we will have a like a row and a column. So when we see at 0 0, so at the 0th row and the 0th column, we see a 0, right? So that means the 0th row and the 0th column should be turned into 0. And then we can go here. So that means like the 0th row and the 3rd column has to be turned to 0. And also, that will save us a lot of time, right? Because we don't have to like overlap doing this. We don't have to put like 2 zeros here, right? Like we only have to update the 0th row once. So like we can use kind of like a set for this. So I think like after I thought of this, it just gives me an idea on how to do it like in constant space, which is like actually doing it in the matrix. So like basically I'm trying to store this information directly inside our matrix, right? So, well, it makes a lot of sense to like just use like the first row or the first column. Like honestly, you can use like any rows or any columns, right? But like first row and first column is just easier to deal with. But like when you see a 0 here, like if you set this as none, it will give us enough information to know, like which row and which column needs to be updated. And like the reason I need the first row 0 and first column 0 is so imagine like example 2, right? If you have a 0 here, and I set so this 0 is going to set the first row and first column into none, right? But how does that differ from, let's say, having a 0 here and setting the first the first row first column cell into none? So you need to distinguish that, and like this none could mean setting 0 horizontally or vertically. So that's why like we need extra variables to actually store like for the first row and column, which also has our information, right? So yeah, I guess that's just how I solved it. So it wasn't too bad. And yeah, if you have any comments, please leave below. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.